So take the record, loyalty points equals loyalty points plus 50, and updating the record. This trick is simply the fact that the increment and decrement methods exist within the models. So if you say, find a customer whose ID is 4, and give him 50 more loyalty points, or take away 50 loyalty points, then it will automatically save the record for you. Single line instead of 3 lines or 2 lines. Really, that line's pointless. I would just do it in 2 lines, but you only need to do 1 line. Simple. Tips and tricks. Lists with mutations. This one's a little bit more complex. So if you're using a mutator to generate a full name based off of a first name and last name, or first name and surname, you run into a problem. So let's pull up the employee and list the name and ID. Return the view. Now we see a select box of employees that just has the name and ID. So now, if you create a mutator for full name, right? When you try to access the model and call the full name property of the model, it will try to resolve that property to the getFullName attribute method. However, when you say lists full name and ID, you're going to get an error that says there's no full name column. So the simple solution to this is to get the record first and then call the lists method instead of the pluck or lists method, and this will return mutated values instead of column values. So if you're looking for mutated calls on your lists, then just remember to list after getting instead of listing before getting.
Is that by convention, or is, like, how does it know the full name? Is it calling the function, and how does it know?
So before you call get, this area here is working with the query builder object. After you call get, you're working with the collection object. In the query builder object, if you say lists, then it uses the select statement in MySQL to try and select the column. If you use the collection to call lists, then the collection knows how to resolve to mutators instead.
So is full name already a well-known function, or is it
No, full name
to translate full underscore name to get full name attribute?
Yes. So this is a magic method right here.
And where does that go?
Called a mutator that goes within the model itself.
Right.
So
I think that's important. That's the piece is missing.
If you define this method in your model, then when you have an instance of your model and you call model hyphen greater than full underscore name, it will resolve to this method and return the results of this method. Yeah, it's been deprecated to pluck now. But that deprecation is probably going to stick around for another 4 major versions. Really do. Carol.
I was using it and I got a red line.
Yes. Yeah. No. In my experience with Laravel, list and pluck and there's another one.
Pop.
No, because pop pulls off of the
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Pluck is the correct way to do it now.
Spending too much time on the slide.
What's this?
For those of you that don't know, Tom and I do a podcast. We actually do it with a third guy.
Tom and John and I.
Tom, John, and I do a podcast called PHP Ugly, at PHP Ugly on Twitter. We're on iTunes, Google, the new Google Play podcast, SoundCloud. We basically ramble on once a week. So What time do we actually record?
Well, no, what time is the podcast?
Well, it's a podcast.
Oh no, it's
so-
whatever you want.
Yeah, you just download.
There's a backlog of more than you would ever want to hear of us.
Give me a clicker. Give me a clicker.
But I will tell you, to anyone in the room who does listen to our podcast on a regular basis, we're trying to actively push up our subscribers and listeners. And the way that
What?
the way that works is if our listeners subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes. So if you're a listener and you could take 5 minutes to rate us on iTunes, it would actually mean a whole lot to us, because that would bump us up in rankings and we would get new listeners, because our listeners are basically all in attendance.
Fantastic.
So we would really love if you rated our podcast.
We'd like to thank our
Anything.
sponsors. Carry.net is the location you're at right now. They handle the food. Diego Dev is a company I work with. A lot of guys here will work with us as well. We do the drinks and
We
stuff
do
like
shirts.
that. We do shirts, yeah. Okay, take a couple seconds to get set up with my slides. I do want to mention we are streaming. All you guys at the table are on the stream, just so you know, don't be checking porn out or anything like that. So.
Or if you do, just know that you're checking porn out on the screen. There is a terms
All
of
right,
service.
I'll get we'll just take like 30 seconds here for me to get my slides going if my partner moves out of my way sometime soon.
Sorry,
I love it when you do that. Why don't you do that at home?
What's wrong with you? What do you need? I think it's just what is it? CarryNet? 858.
Did anybody actually watch the stream from Kentucky from last month?
I don't know, but the videos are up and they're worth watching. It's actually one of my slides.
The Laracon ones?
Yeah.
And these slides,
I know they sold a lot of those streams.
these slides and stream video will be available after on the website, stblood.com.
Okay. We all got our wireless? This is the phone number. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 quick talks here. It's all gonna be me. Then a real quick touch on the Laracon US conference. Went to it last month. It was still my favorite conference. Also going to talk about Laravel 5.3. Laravel 5.3 has got a ton of new features. Many of them are going to be entire presentations on their own. So I'm going to probably gloss over some of the bigger ones. I do try to do some demos in here, but I don't want to run too long. So we'll fit in as much as we can. But there's a lot of good stuff here. If anybody's interested in doing a talk in the future, there's going to be plenty of topics here to talk about. So there's not a whole lot to say about the conference itself. I've boasted about this many times. It's my favorite conference, PHP or otherwise. It's a single track conference. They're looking to keep it single track. They're not sure where it's going to be next year. They don't think it's going to be in the same location just because they've kind of maxed out that facility. This year they sold out. They sold out pretty early. You couldn't really tell it sitting at the conference. It was actually pretty comfortable. They have these stadium seatings, the way the auditorium is set up, so it wasn't a huge problem, but I know they're looking to move it. Fantastic talks, fantastic presenters. This year they recorded a lot, or they've recorded all the talks, and they're available to watch for free at this location here. These talks, I would highly encourage people to watch. These were my favorite talks. Of course, Taylor obviously talking about 5.3, Adam Ravin talking about test-driven Laravel. He's coming out with a whole series on test-driven Laravel. I'm looking forward to that. Evan Yu was there, the creator of Vue.js. He did a workshop. Adam did another talk on collections. refactoring 2 collections, which was real eye-opening. His goal was to remove a lot of for each loops in code. So if there was a for each loop, he tried to turn it into a collection. It was fascinating to watch him do it, and really kind of had you rethink the way you look at code. Chuck Reeves was probably my personal favorite talk. He did a practical software estimation. Kind of a soft talk, wasn't a techno. A lot of the talks this year were technical, not very many soft talks. This one hit home with me, especially this time, because we've been struggling a lot with how to do estimations, the best approach to doing estimations, and just some of the feedback he had was just spot on. It was great talk. And then Keeping It Eloquent was another good talk, and I didn't say who did this one, so I don't actually remember who it was. But these again were my favorite talks. If you want to watch a couple of videos, I think these first 3 are over an hour. These were the first day, where it was the workshop day, but it wasn't really a workshop. And then these next 3 are like 45 minutes. On to Laravel 5.3 stuff. Right, yeah, we're going to post this. So before I get into it, since Laravel 5.3 has been officially released, there is the upgrade guide. I strongly recommend going through this. We're going to talk about a couple of the breaking changes, but definitely you want to go through this upgrade guide now that it's been officially released and seeing which ones apply to you. But get on with the show, shall we? Pull you back over here. Alright. So I got some speaker notes. Hopefully we'll do some demos and things will go well for us. We'll see how today plays out here. I'm actually going to just keep it like this, I guess. Okay. So the most obvious change when you do a new install is the directory structure has changed. It's a lot slimmer than it used to be. This really has no impact. All Taylor did was remove all the empty directories that are there by default, events, notifications, things like that. Directories that never had anything in it on a fresh install to begin with. The only difference now is that when you do a PHP make and event, if the event folder is not there, it will create it for you. So you don't have to worry about it. It's just keeps things a little neater, nice and clean.
The routes is different.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. No, that's fine. You got a sharp eye?
Pay attention.
Yeah, we'll get there. There's a lot. There's all sorts of fun stuff. All right, look at that. There's a new routes folder. So one of the changes that they did do is they moved. So we used to have a routes file in the app directory, and the thing about that file specifically was it was the only file in that directory that wasn't PSR compliant. So Taylor had a lot of discussion about wanting to move it out. The solution he came up with is actually creating a routes folder in the root directory, which we see right here. Now there's actually 2 routes files in here. So he broke out the routes to allow you to have a routes for APIs and a routes for web. And these have different, these are just like groupings, right? So when we used to do groupings, same way, same thing's happening here. I'm going to explain to you how it happens in a second. But the cool thing here is there's two things to know. One of the cool things is that you can add your own route files, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. And again, if you do a lot of grouping, like I've traditionally done a lot of grouping, this is actually keeps it a little cleaner, breaks things out a little better for you. The other cool thing about this that we discovered at the conference is this is not a backwards compatibility break. So what that means is if you're upgrading an existing Laravel application, you have the old routes file in the apps folder, it will continue to work. It doesn't break. It looks for that file first and then falls back to these. or maybe looks for these first and falls back to that. I forget the order, but he that was one of the biggest questions that came up. He's like, no, this is not a breaking change. So adding custom routes is pretty simple. There's a route service provider that we'll take a look at, and then there's some configurations you do in there, and then once you do your configurations, you can add your route file, and there's actually a location. So what that looks like here, so we're doing app provider route services. Okay. So let's do where are we? Let's come over here to this one. Provider route services. Okay. All right. This is it. So I mentioned to you before, if you did a lot of grouping and routes, it's basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing. The only difference is you're defining your group in the service provider. So you see this is your API routes here, the middleware that those routes go through, the namespace those routes belong to, any prefixes that go onto the URL, and last but not least, the location of the routes file itself. So again, this is the convention, you put them in routes. Down here, this is one I created. So this is admin routes, and I just copied the rules for the web. So it's just a web middleware namespace. So I actually added this is the apps namespace, and then the controller is in the admin folder. We're prefixing it with admin, and I put it in the routes in that admin. And what that looks like, and actually if I go down, I probably should have. So that was, here's the web one. Here's the out-of-the-box web one. So same thing. So now, if we go to, let's see. So what we have, so I have this admin routes file, which is what I defined over there. And all that's doing is calling an admin's controller, which, again, if you look in HTTP controllers, so I added this admin folder. Again, I had that as part of my configuration right here. So admin controller, and just to see how that works. Let's go to, let's see, Laravel 5.3 dev/admin. And that's all it does. That's how simple it is to add custom routes files. It's really a no-brainer. It's just knowing. And it really is not that far of a deviation of how you did the grouping by before. It just allows you to break them all out into separate files, which is really nice. All right.
Routes area filing the biggest change?
No, not at all. No, that's actually pretty simple. Okay, side note, Elixir is now at Elixir 6. One of the real nice things about it, one of the biggest changes is that he's using Webpack now, as opposed to, just blanked on what he was using before. Anybody remember? What? Browserify, that's right, that's what it was. So he's moved over to Webpack, but the real nice thing is after you run like a gold command now, it kicks out this real nice summary explaining exactly everything the gold command just did. So it's nice after that big thing runs to see exactly what all happened, where things went, where it got those files from. That's all nice. A new validation rule is now available to you. I think we all know about validation and how to do validation. There's now an image validation, and you can validate images on min and max width, min and max height, width, height, and ratio. And this down here is kind of what that validation looks like. It's pretty straightforward. You're uploading your avatar, and you have your dimensions. This is super nice if you have a site that you've done a lot of uploading of images, and you've had to validate, how big those images are allowed to be. All right, where are we at? This is a fun one, and I have some examples to show you here. So,
There's a good video of this on Laracon.
oh, is there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to do my best, huh?
The Laracon does this video very well.
Okay. So in your views now, you have a new loop variable available to you. It's available to you in your blade templates, and it tells you where you're at in a for each loop, basically. So you have a couple things available to you. You have index, remaining, count, first, last, depth, and parent. And I have an example. I'll show you how to do this. It's pretty nifty. So, actually, let me see here. Post. Oh. Okay, so there's nothing in there right now. Let's fire up a little tinker. And let's see here. I have my little factory right here. Just going to create some posts real fast so I can put it in a loop. Let's see, create a little factory. Alright, fantastic. So we should have a post. Show some posts now. Okay, so we have posts available to us. So let's come over here for a second. And let's see. Yeah, we're not worried about that. Where did I put this at? So let's do web routes, and then we're gonna come down. All right. All this stuff is okay. So we do loop. It's oh, okay. So I just called the route loop. Okay, fantastic. With the view loop. Okay, so let's take a look at that real quick. Loop.blade.php. Okay, so you saw from the route. As a matter of fact, I can split screen that, I guess, real fast. Let's see, web. All right. So down here, this is the route we're going to hit, the loop route. It's going to render the loop view, which you see up here, and all that's going to do is grab paginate posts, the next 10 posts, and I did paginate for a reason. That's a new feature as well. I'll show that to you. But we're just going to grab all the posts and paginate through every 10 of them. But if you look up here, we grab the post, we do our typical for each post as post. We have post title, and then down here, we have this new loop variable that we call. So we use loop index, loop remaining. That's remaining within this for each loop. So since this is paginating by 10, this will be remaining of 10, index of 10. We don't pass this loop variable here. Right? Nothing's being passed. The only thing being passed is post. This loop is just available to our Blade templates as a new feature. So to see what that looks like, come over here. We have post. Was it post or post? Oh, loop. You're right. Hit loop. And there we go. So if you look again, remaining, this 9 was the loop remaining. This 0 is the index. So this is the first in that for each loop, and so on. This is very helpful. It helps keep your place when you're in these big loops and knowing where you are and what record you're working with. The one thing I mentioned is the pagination. It's not a big feature, but one of the new features that are available to you is you can now post the view template for pagination and customize it. So, for example, I like my pagination, typically it's justified to the left here. I like it in the middle, so I just updated the view. I can update these arrows, I can update anything I want. It's pretty simple. I mean, all you do is vendor publish, and it'll publish the templates for pagination. So a nice addition, but that's completely separate to the index. So again, you'll see if we go to the next, we have 30 here, or actually we have 25, right? That's what we did a factory of. But we go to our next. So you see we start over again with 0 and 9 because it's doing the index of that for each that's being called at that time. So even though this is actually the 11th record, the index for this for each call is 0 and there's 9 remaining. Yes, sir? How's that useful? Again, just knowing where you're at in a for each loop and being able to do things with it based on, like, maybe you don't want to show every 3rd record, or maybe every 5th record you want to bold, or it just lets you know where you're at without having to put any additional code in there. And there's, again, there are other, I used a very simple, all I'm using there is index and remaining. There's count, there's first, there's last. Is this the first, is this the last record in the for each? There's all sorts of fun stuff. The parent one interests me the most. I didn't do an example of it, but it does a loop within another for each loop, and it returns the reference to the loop variable for the parent loop. So that's kind of cool. I know, I thought it was funny too. Okay, Query Builder now returns collection. This is a breaking change, and you need to be very aware of it. So what this is telling us is before the DB Query Builder would just turn an array. Now it's a collection. Collection's good because that's how all the other data is returned in Laravel. A DB query return was always a kind of the odd man out, and you always had to remember when using it. Now everything is a collection. The problem is legacy code needs to be updated. And to see that in action, we have, where is it? I have here. Actually, I probably should show you. Let's go here. Where are we at? DB query. So you see, all I'm doing here is DB table post get. So that's your straight out of the box, and we're doing a DD post here. So I'm not even doing a return. And we do a DB query. And just like that, you see right up here, it's a collection now. So this is a good thing, but it is something you have to be aware of when you're working with old code bases and you want to upgrade them. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward there. All right. Laravel notifications. I actually just got this working right before I came here, thanks to the help of Thomas. What's that? So Laravel did a lot of work on notifications and how to use notifications. It made it pretty simple. It's kind of fun to do now. You have the ability to send notifications through multiple avenues. Email's pretty popular. You can then send it to Slack. You can send it both email and Slack. There's SMS. There's all sorts of. I don't know which ones are built out of the box, but it's pretty easy to create your own. To do it is also equally as simple. So if you look, come back up here. Let's close this guy here. If you look up here, we'll open up our user model. So the user model is already configured this way out of the box. There is now this illuminate notifications, notifiable, and then it uses the trait notifiable, and that's to make something, to make a notification possible. That's all you need to do. It's that simple. So to see this in action, let's see. I forget if I. All right. So here. All right. Yeah, I do have it. So, actually, I think I have more slides on this. Let's go to the slides. Yes. So to create a new notification, all we have to do is a PHP artisan make notification. In this case, we're doing a new post notification. So ideally, when a new post comes in, maybe it'll notify a user of the post. So we come here, we have a little notification route. This is super simple stuff. I mean, this is overly simplified. You can do a lot more complex and fun things with it. I'm just trying to keep it simple here. We have our notification route. We just grab the first user of the database, the first post out of the database, and now we're going to send them a notification of the post. And what this looks like here, let's see, new post notification. This is the file that was created by that PHP artisan command. Because we are passing post to it, you don't have to pass anything to it. You can actually create your notifications just as static notifications. You don't have to pass any data to it at all. But since we are passing a post to it, I add that to the constructor, make it a protected variable here. We're doing a mail notification. Again, this could be Slack, it could be a few other things. This is what the notification looks like. So you're not calling any view. It uses a standard view template. There is some syntax that you need to learn and what they mean. So for example, this action one is a button. In the email, it's a button. It might be something different in Slack or SMS, but for an email, an action is a button, a link button. A line is a line of text. Subject would be the subject of whatever the thing is.
We have a question. Will notification be available on Lumen?
Lumen, yeah. I don't know the answer to that.
Easily venture to say that.
I would guess no as well, because it's not the nature of what Lumen does, but I don't know.
Available means can you import it into Lumen?
Which obviously you can.
Sure.
Yes. So the question is, will notifications be available in Lumen? I don't know for sure. I don't even know what the time frame is for Lumen 5.3. It's usually a couple months. Lumen usually follows about a month or two after a Laravel release. But I don't know if the notifications will be there by default, but obviously if it's in Laravel, you could probably pull it into there. So back to our demo, we're going to go ahead and do a mail. We're going to just do a new post, and from the post variable we are passing here. I should probably look at moving all this stuff over some. From that post variable we'll be passing, we're just going to go ahead and grab the title as part of the subject. So what that looks like, again, our location here is notify, and we'll come over here, we'll hit notify. It did not copy and paste correctly. Notify. Yes, we get nothing back. And that is because we're using MailTrap. And here is the email. I should have showed you this before, that actually wasn't there. But you see it does new post, the title of the post, which is just Lambda stuff. Here, I'll run it again so you can see that I'm not doing any trickery here. So there's one email here now. We'll run it again. And now we have two emails. And this is, you see how nicely formatted the email is. This is our action. So if we pop back over here, post. Action view post. That's this right here, view post, which is just a link. You can see the source code for it. It's all pretty clean stuff.
So what does the template look like?
What does the template look like? It's actually in the vendor directory. We were looking at it earlier. I'm not going to pull up the template. I got too much stuff to talk about a template. What does the template look like? Alright, so that's fun stuff. So let's go ahead and delete this because we're going to use mail traffic in here in a little bit for some more fun mailable stuff. Uh-oh. I wasn't nervous until you told me that. More people...
That's why I told you now. So
You bastard. Yeah, friends like you, I tell you. Friends like you. Alright. Laravel Echo is part of Laravel 5.3. I'm not big on this. Taylor demoed it at Laracon, but it's a JavaScript library meant to help facilitate like WebSockets. So you get that real time. If you're using a service like Pusher or something, this is where you would use the Laravel Echo library to kind of get those notifications in real time. I'd hoped to do a demo of this one. I ran out of time on this. This is just part of the general improvements of the whole event broadcasting system in Laravel, which, again, Taylor spent a lot of time on for this release. Migration paths. Again, fairly minor change, but starting in 5.3, migrations can now be loaded from multiple paths through a service provider. And the reason this is important is if you've ever developed a package for Laravel and you've had a migration, previously you've had to ask the user to do a vendor publish to allow your migrations to be published to the migrations folder, then run migrations. Now your migrations will, whenever he does PHP migrate, they still have to run the migration, so you have to tell them run PHP migrate. It will get picked up in the service provider, and the service provider will tell it where its migrations are. So this is really handy to have. This is one I stumbled across. I'm like, this seems really cool. I'm going to spend a little time on this one. Let's see, how are we doing on time? Just in general, where are we at? Huh? Holy crap. Okay.
6 till 16
Man, I'm about halfway through on slides. I promise I'll try to speed up here. So, with MySQL 5.7, it introduced a new column type for JSON. I'm a big JSON guy. I love JSON. They're just, it's so easy to work with. I've always stored JSON in my databases. You just do it as these blobs of varchar with big character sets. But now there's column type specific for it. And I was curious about how that would work. In Laravel 5.7 now, there's some, it allows you to interact with those JSON data types. And I'm hoping to demo that for you. So, this is the migration we run. Real straightforward. The only difference is here, this little guy right there, it's a JSON for layouts. So this is what we use to create our tables. Now we have this JSON data column type in our table. I think I will move this back over this way a little bit. Actually, you know what? Maybe we should just open it. We'll move this over. Will it allow you to convert? Will MySQL allow you to convert an existing column type to a JSON? I don't know. It will? Okay, there you go. That is horrible. What did I just do? And does anybody know what we call it? This forms. Okay. So currently our forms table is empty. So let's go ahead and create some data for our forms table, shall we? So we'll do a form layout. I'm going to cheat here. I just took a bunch of code I already created. So I'll do a form layout, and then we'll just simply boop, boop, boop. This is all simple stuff. We're just creating the file. So we come down here now. Now we have a record. One thing that I'm finding weird, and do we see it here? Yeah, you do see it here. One thing I see weird, and we'll see this as we add things to this JSON. So you see in layout, we now have this was our JSON column type right here. We now have the string of JSON. If you look at the order that I put the stuff in when I committed it, in the order it ends up in JSON, it's not the same order. Right? I'm not sure how it figures out this order yet. It's kind of weird. What's that? Okay. Hashes do not have a determinate order. Interesting. All right. So we'll add Tom. So Tom doesn't want to share as much information as I want to share, because Tom is a little bit more private than I am. So we're going to just. And then we'll do one more here for John, since he's not here. We can make fun of him. John, again, all he's going to do is share some basic information, and we'll store him in the database as such. All right, so now we come down here, look at our database. We have 3 records. The layout column, which is our JSON column type, has varying degrees of information in it based on the information the user chose to provide. The forms all have a name to it. Pretty simple stuff. So now, what can we do with this? Well, let's show you an example. So now we can create a query string here, just like we always do with Eloquent. Table forms, we're going to do a select layout, which is our JSON column type. We want all the Twitter handles that any user may have provided in this JSON column type, and just get all those. That's all we're asking for here. And there you go. This that quickly just goes through and grabs all those Twitter handles that were provided. And I don't know what the limitations or performance impact is on this as these JSON strings get longer, but I was pretty happy to see that. But wait, there's more. So where before.
Yeah, but just because it's key value, it's. Yeah, just the way the information returned key values.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. It's got this double quotes too. I don't know what that's about. Yeah. So we're up here. We just simply did a select of all the Twitter handles in that JSON column type. Down here, we're actually going to do a where that Twitter handle equals showcom, which is me, to get that record. And it does exactly what you would expect it to do. It returns the entire record that it finds where the Twitter handle is showcom. So that's pretty cool. But wait, there's more. So we have this stuff in our database. But what exactly can we do with it? Is it just once we commit it, are we done? Do we have to pull the whole thing in, update the whole thing when we want to make a change? Well, no, you don't actually. So what we can do here, that is the one we just did. Did not do my copy correctly. Copy and paste. So now I'm going to say the guy with the Twitter handle of Shokum, update his JSON column type layout, add the value motorcycle, or add the key motorcycle, give it the value of an Indian. And you get a return of 1. We come back up here and we look, and now we see we have motorcycle equals Indian. That is awesome. No, hold your applause. We're not done yet. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing. This time we're going to add a truck. There's no truck up here. Now what's weird is, again, it added the motorcycle in the middle of that string. I don't know how it's doing that. It's not alphabetical, which is what I originally thought, because T comes after M, but before W. I don't know why it's doing it that way. But now we're going to add a truck. Add a truck. Get a value 1 back. Boom. Now we have a truck. But I have to be honest with you, I don't actually own an Indian motorcycle, so I need to update that. I wish I owned an Indian motorcycle, but what I actually own is a V-Star. So I will come back here, do the exact same thing. Twitter handle is Shokum. We're going to update the layout, the key motorcycle. We're now going to say V-Star. We hit enter, boom, 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 and now you see motorcycle equals V-Star. Seems pretty functional. I'm very happy with it. I'm hoping more is done with it. Thomas, did I see you raise your hand? What's up?
So the MySQL JSON data type, we had a presentation at SDPHP Worth County from
Correct.
David Stokes, who works for MySQL.
Mm-hmm.
And his presentation was 86 slides on the JSON data type. So
So what's being discussed right now for people listening to the stream, we're talking about an SDPHP meetup we had in North County where David Stokes from Oracle did a presentation on I think it was on MySQL 5.7, right? It wasn't
it was just on the JSON data type.
okay. There were 89 slides on it. That is fantastic.
So if you're interested in this, don't just jump in and start using the JSON data type.
Jump it, you're fine. What could possibly go wrong?
Is it ready for prime time?
That's funny. That's a
There's
conversation we had.
slides about that.
Yeah.
If you want prime time, use Postgres 9.5.
No, I mean,
So to answer your question,
it's better to wait for version 2.
right, it's the first implementation of it. Oracle, the people we've spoken to, I'm not going to call out any specific names, but the people we've spoken to have said that they're still figuring out the ins and outs of it, of their JSON data type, so it may change. So if you don't have a heavy dependency or need for it right now, it may behoove you to wait. But if you're a risk taker, if you like to experiment, yeah, go ahead. It's out there. Come on.
It's cool, but it's bleeding edge.
Yeah, that's what I can
Now,
New.
Now, somebody just mentioned Postgres's JSON data type. Norm, was it? Yeah. So, interesting enough, this does not seem to work with Postgres, nor does it work with a MongoDB database or anything that's just pure. I kind of expected it not to work with a Mongo, but I did sort of expect it to work with Postgres, and as of the testing that I did, it didn't work.
Well, Postgres has some really funky syntax, and so you have to resort to raw.
But that's the point of a framework, right? It's supposed to abstract that away. Yeah. Yeah. I mean the queries that I write for MySQL in Laravel works for the Postgres database 9 times out of 10. So yeah, I'm hoping it does come with the Postgres database, but doesn't seem to be there yet. So I thought that was a cool one. I was excited. I wanted to spend some time on that one. I'm glad it worked out well. Okay, mailables. A lot of people were excited about this at the conference. I gotta say, I honestly didn't give it a lot of thought, but I can see kind of why they have their excitement. So, historically, if you created a mail using Laravel, it was this funky little closure you had to do, where you're passing information. And if you're doing this multiple times in multiple places, this could get a little taxing. And it's not the prettiest code to look at. In Laravel 5.3, you now have these classes you can create, these mail classes. So you do it simply by doing PHP artisan make mail reminder. And I will give you a sneak peek of what that looks like. Let's just go ahead and grab this back over here. Spend some time in the VI. So reminder. So you see it gets stored in app mail reminder. It creates this big class, which looks a lot more intimidating than that other closure look. But if you think about it from the perspective that for your reminder email, you're just creating this one class, and then every time you need to use it, that implementation of using it is a lot simpler. And you'll see what I mean here in a second. But this would be the class. Again, this is pretty basic stuff. We have a basic from subject, the view, so your blade template that you're using, and this is it. This is your whole mail class. To use this, we'll come back over to web route. Where did I got that at? Here we go, right here. To now use that class, this is all you do. So where previously we had this closure to send an email, now all we have is this one line, who it's going to, and again, typically this would be a variable of some sort. You're not typically hard coding it. So look up here. Don't look at this one yet. Look at this one up here. We're doing mail to, and then we're sending it, and we're sending this reminder. So what this looks like, again, come over here. Boom, boom, email, and that's done. Come over here. There's our email. Your reminders here. That's how simple it is. So you can see where if you're throwing this need to send out emails in multiple places in your application, this line becomes a lot more manageable to look at from a coding perspective and to implement. Typically, you don't send emails out immediately. Typically, you queue it. So that's what this next line is. Very straightforward. Instead of saying send, you hit queue, and we will do that over here. So let's go ahead and delete this email. Go over here, and we'll go to email -queue. Email sent. Come over here. No email. What happened? Who knows what happened? I know what happened. We have no listener. So let's go ahead and get a listener going. That was a test. You've passed. I don't know what happened there, but let's go ahead and actually we'll go ahead and keep that going here. So we'll do 5.3. We'll start a listener down here. Let's see here. I'm not sure if I might have skipped a slide here. Let me see if I skipped a slide. Artisan reminder. Oh, I actually had I didn't have to pull it up. Yeah. So this is the mailable right here. This is the build. God, this is so much nicer than the VI review I pulled up. I should have just gone through here. Again, this is the send. We just talked about that. This is the queuing, and this is where we want to grab our listener. This actually gets me back on track. So once we start this listener up, and actually before we start the listener up, is that? 10.487, 10.487. 10.407. Ten 407. All right. Laravel 53. Select star from jobs. You see this has our little mail queued up now. We come up here, we start our listener. Listener will fire, and again, this is all happening from that queue command that we had in our route. You see our listener just fired. Our queue should now be empty, which it's now empty. And we come over here and we should have our email, which we do. So now we have our queue running. That's going to play into the slides that are coming up. So that's how easy it is to queue up emails. Whew, where are we at on time? 8:15. Guys, I'm going to try to wrap this up in the next 15 minutes, but I'm going to have to hustle. All right. What's that? You're here 24/7. I don't think these guys will hang 24/7.
We're in.
Okay, Laravel Scout. This is an exciting one, especially to you, Evan, Mr. Elasticsearch. So what Laravel Scout does is it now adds driver-based full-text search solutions to Eloquent. So if you're using a search solution for your application, much like Evan's mention of Elasticsearch, which at the time of the conference did not have a driver for it, but was the first one everybody asked for it. They're like, it doesn't have Elasticsearch. Tyler's like, no, but they're really easy to make, and I would not be surprised to find out somebody's already made one. Out of the box, there's a Scout driver for Algola search service, and there's new drivers. I mean, if you watch Laravel News, you see people mention new drivers being developed all the time, and I have some presentations for this. So, Laravel Scout does not come with your base Laravel 5.3 install. It's an add-on, but it's specific for 5.3. So to add it on, you just do a composer, Laravel Scout. Because we're using Algolia, we have to also include the Algolia client. Obviously, when you do this, you have to add service provider to your app, PHP stuff. That's all pretty common. But see, you also do a vendor publish because that actually publishes your Scout config file that you do some customization. We'll take a look at that real fast. But besides that, it's pretty simple. To enable search on a model couldn't be easier. All you do is you pull in the searchable, you use the searchable, and then you use the trait. This is my post model. We'll see this work here in a second, but I don't have any other information, but it will make everything in my post model searchable. Are we ready for the demo?
Does Algolia work with the file system, like PDFs? No.
Oh, I don't know. No.
Just for database?
So the question was, does it work for files? And the answer apparently is no.
Algolia is a push-pull service. So you push a JSON vector or object to it, and when you query their service, they return a set of JSON objects back. Highly customizable based on how you index things, and prioritize things, but it's inherently just whatever JSON objects you push to it.
Okay, so let's take a quick look at the Scout config file. Like everything else, it's pretty simple. Obviously, all the stuff is defined in our environmental or .env file, but it does have defaults. So I do. The only thing I changed in this file was this. It comes as false, which makes a call to your search service immediately. I just changed this to queue it up because of performance issues. You don't typically want you typically want to queue this stuff up. Besides that, this is just my credentials for Algolia. That's all I had to do there. Let's come back over to so we created two tables we're going to work with. Forms. All right, so you see I already have the stuff here. I just had them commented out. So we'll uncomment them. And see, what was the other thing we did? Post. Same thing. Let's just uncomment these so that we can use it. And uncomment this one. All right, so everything is enabled to use search, but as we know, we already have a bunch of records. We have 25 records already created in our posts. We have 3 records already created in our forms table. And those aren't going to hit the model again. So we really want to get those into our search solution. Fortunately, there is a solution for that. Let's come over here to Algolia. Right now, we have no indexes. I'm going to do a real quick refresh. Refresh. Okay, so no indexes. 0 indexes. All right, so let's get our existing data into our search. There's a couple of ways we can do this. There's a artisan command, which I will grab first. Let's go ahead and grab we'll do our posts with our artisan command. So come over here up on this right-hand side here. So we're doing post artisan scout import, and then the model we want to import, which is post. And what that's going to do is look at all the existing records it has and update our search solution with it. Happens fairly quickly, except we just got an error. Need a what? What happened here? That is not good. Let's see if our forms work. This was working earlier.
While you're figuring that out.
Ah, forms worked, and we just saw our little queue kick off. I'm not sure what's wrong with our post. Let's just see it over here real quick. Yep, there's our forms. Here are the records we created. This is our JSON demo. So that's all there. Let's see if by chance, go ahead, Thomas.
Before Scout, there already was an Algolia plugin which basically did everything that Scout did, but only for Algolia. So if this looks like it's sort of redundant, if you've used Algolia before and it looks like it's kind of redundant, it's because in this implementation it is. What Scout is a series of contracts for all search engines to use.
Well, and it also puts an eloquent wrapper around it, right? So, yeah.
Yes,
That's literally in the description of the goddamn thing.
That was, yes, the Algolia Laravel binding, which existed a year ago, did the same thing. What Scout is doing is holding it to a contract. So now that contract can be used to develop for lots of search engines, not just Algolia.
So does Eloquent expose like advanced search features like Boolean operators and stuff?
Boolean operators, I don't know about Boolean operators. We will go through some of the searches that we can do.
It depends on the query engine.
So
It allows for
I'm not exactly expecting this to work. Let's see. This is how we would index existing data from within a Laravel app. This is also the one that crashed on us with Artisan. Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. Method searchable does not exist. Did I fat finger something over here? Let's see. Oh, how's that different than?
Check the log.
Hold on. Form. Use searchable. B. What am I not seeing here? They're the same. Let's do this real fast. We know this one worked. Let's grab this. No, it's not the, because that's for into the database. Whoever asked that question. Let's see. We'll go back down to post. Well, let's do a post here. We'll change this to post. Oh, it looks the same to me. Let's just see what we have here. Alright. That should get us to the same place. Alright, let's see if that did anything. We do have to exit Tinker and come back into it for that to load. Huh. I must have fat fingered something on that other one. That's good. So if we come back over here, we should now have 2 indexes. And again, this is just indexing all of our existing. We haven't created anything new here. Yeah. So we have 25 records, which was our factory that we pulled in, and we have our 3 records in our form. And you see these 25 is just a bunch of craziness. Okay. So now that we have this, what can we do with it? Well, come back over here and let me grab some stuff. Now when we want to search data, like a search engine or something, and again, these are very simple examples. You've got to put this in the mindset of a full-blown application, passing variables, crap like that. But here, all we do is we call our model. All we're doing is calling our model, calling our search, which is just part of the Laravel install now. And in this case, we're searching for Shokum, my Twitter handle, and we do a get. So let's see what that returns for us. And it returns exactly what we expected. It returns our record from our forms index and all that information. So that's pretty cool. So now let's create a new post because we want to do something new. This is all going to fly by because I'm copying and pasting, but if you have any questions, I mean, this is all real basic stuff. So we're going to new up a new post. We new up a post here. We associate user ID 1 with it. The title is going to be SD-Lug. The body is going to be Tonight We Talk About Laravel 5.3, and we're going to save that. Now watch down here. Because we're hitting a model that we have defined as searchable, it's going to queue that up for us without us having to do any other work. Boop. Watch it. Bam. Just like that. So now that record is in our search engine. You'll trust me on that. We'll do a search for it here in a second. Let's go ahead and add another one because I want to show you there is a method to my madness here. So we're doing the same thing. This time we're not adding the SD-Lug to the title. We're adding the SD-Lug to the body because when we do a search, we're going to do a search for SD-Lug, and I'm going to show you that it will pull in both records for us. So we'll save that, and that is done. I think I have one more record here. Yes, I do have one more record here. And there's a reason for this last one. Okay. So we'll do one more. Again, basically SD-Lug here is part of, has some parentheses around it, so it looks like it could be interpreted as all one long letter, or one long word, but it's not. It's in the body, not in the title. We're going to save that. And did I miss that cue? Did that cue go? I didn't see the cue go that time. Oh, actually, it's. What am I missing? I did a post save there. Huh? Quotes where? Huh? I got where? Oh, I see. Let's kill that because that's just going to error out. So let's exit that out. Let's go tinker it again. So we're gonna do up a new post. We're gonna do user ID 2 this time. We're doing title, great. Is that this one?
Yep.
Great meetups. And then we're doing this guy here's the wrong tick. Oh yeah, you're right. It was. Yeah, let me pull it over here. Yeah. Alright. So this one is wrong, right? Alright, that looks right? Alright, now we'll do a post save. Alright, there we go. And that will queue and go. Fantastic. Alright, so now that we have our 3 new posts in there, we can do some searching. So again, we do a search for SD lug. Those are the 3 posts that we've added. Let me go ahead and pull this down a little bit, give us some more room. We do a search for SD lug, and we get all 3 records back, regardless if the SD lug is in the title or in the body. We get all that back. Also, you'll notice here that it's not case sensitive. All these SD lugs are all uppercase. We search for lowercase, and we get all 3 records.
That's engine specific.
What's that?
That's engine specific.
That's engine specific. That's good to know.
Not specific to the searchable tree.
So much like other eloquent calls, we can add some pagination. Let's just say 2 here since we only have 3 records. Returns a collection. Actually, I can just do that. I can just DD post. And we have 2 records. 1, 2, and that's all we have because we paginated that. So let's do. Okay. So that's it. This is another good example. What just happened there? Tinker. We're going to do a search. We'll do a search with a where clause. So this time, remember all the other IDs I put in were 1. We're going to do a search for SD lug where user ID equals 2, and gives us exactly what we want, the 1 post that user created. There are scenarios where you're going to want to add a record but not add it to your search. And that's actually pretty simple to do here as well. The one method that I have here is through a closure. Let's see how this post. That did not seem to do well. That should not be there. Let's see if this works. A parse error. Brr. Where did I screw up here? I got a parse error here somewhere. Oh, I think I have too many of those. That's what I have. Okay, I gotcha. So I'm hearing it. All right, that's all we need is right there. So in this scenario, we're calling our form model. You guys want to share something or? No, I mean you guys seem to be in a pretty deep conversation.
Just wondering, with Scout,
Huh?
if it would return other information from an engine other than Algolia. If I was using it for Elasticsearch, can it give me things like the score of the search result?
That and Algolia has a score as well. I don't know if that's part of Scout, but I would imagine it's part of the Algolia client that you installed. But I don't know. It'd be a good part for your presentation.
Pretty important part of full text.
Yeah.
Searches.
So the question was, does it return things like scores and weights and things like that? And I don't know the answer to that, but yeah.
The idea with these search providers is to offload that work onto the search provider itself.
Right. Exactly.
You still need to retrieve that information.
Right.
It will just return it in as decrementing based on.
I'm not sure that's how Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done enough research to confirm whether or not the information it's returning is based on weight. Okay, so we're going to go in here. So if you have data that you want to add, but you don't want it to be searchable, you just add this without syncing to search. This is a simple closure. Actually, I think this is going to fail because we actually created that record already. No, we didn't. And you see down here, our queue never advances. We can actually do a search for Spencer here. Let's just do it. Actually, do it right here. We'll do a search for Spencer, and there's nothing. So, although we've added this record, and we can actually confirm that down here. We can do a select from, or select star from. What was that, forms? Or yeah, form. What? Oh, you're right. I am using post. Good call. Post where name equals. Nope. Where name equals. What do we call it? Sample Spencer. What do I have wrong there? Oh. Well, it would help if I take this out. Still got something wrong there. No column name. I thought that's what we've got name there. Let's just take a quick look here. Let's just do a select star from post.
Oh, you know
What?
what? No, it is form.
Huh?
It is form. You have the search you did.
Oh, you're right. I did do a. Yeah, I see. So this actually was wrong here. So this should be form. Still nothing down here. This should be form. And there's two records because we actually ran that twice. So neither one of those records got added to the search. They'll never be there. Well, they potentially could be there if we re-indexed everything. So yeah, I think that's it for search. I do have quite a few more things to go through. Where are we at on time? Somebody? Anybody?
35.
Oh my freaking god! I gotta hustle. Okay, so that's Scout. Passport. Holy crap! We're not going to do a demo on Passport, but Passport is super cool. If you've ever worked with OAuth and had to create your own OAuth server, it's a pain in the butt. Passport makes it pretty damn simple. It's an OAuth 2 server for Laravel apps, simple to implement, easy to learn, uses the league's OAuth 2 server. Much like Scout, it's not part of the base install. You have to do a composer require Laravel Passport. After running that, you do a PHP artisan migrate. This is very important because it's going to add a bunch of stuff for your OAuth. It needs to be ran. This will also create encryption keys needed, generate secure access tokens, what you see happening down here. It creates some encryption keys, some personal access tokens, all sorts of fun stuff. To leverage your OAuth 2 server, much like Scout, you simply pull in the trait to the model you're going to use it on. Typically, it would probably be your user model. So we have this has API tokens trait added to our user model. We then have to call the Passport routes from our auth service provider. That's pretty simple as well. That's this piece right here, Passport routes, is all that you add. And then the last thing you really need to do is you need to go into your API guard, or you need to go into your API guard and change the driver that it's using to guard APIs to Passport. And that's it. Passport also comes with a bunch of view components. You don't have to use them. They're just a real convenient thing to have for your interface, or at least as a starting place for your interface. So we have a bunch of view components. You do an artisan vendor publish tag Passport components. And that's it. And I think you can see this if I go back to, I think I have the view components enabled here. And I'll show you what they look like real fast and how easy they are to enable. Not welcome. Let's just go here. You will take me to welcome. Take me to welcome. I need to log in. And let's do this. There we go. These are the view components for the OAuth piece. So imagine, we've all probably used OAuth on some level. If you've ever authenticated yourself to a site using your Twitter account or your Facebook account or your GitHub account, where you go to log in, it sends you over to GitHub. GitHub says, okay, these guys are trying to grant you access based on these credentials. Are you going to allow it? You say allow it, and then you go back and you're magically logged in. This can act as your GitHub. So say you have your business has multiple sites. They can all authenticate to one location by creating clients, creating tokens. Super cool. Running long on time, so I don't have a lot to show you on this. But if OAuth is your thing, authentication is your thing, definitely want to check out Passport. Very, very slick. I wanted to show you. Let's see. Let's see. We'll do welcome, blade, boo. F9, down. Where did I put? I actually don't even remember where I put the components, but the view components are super simple to implement. Let me see if I have. Do I have a note on where I put those? Yeah, I forget where I implemented it. Oh, I know how I can check. Let's do this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember where I implemented the view components, but it was like 3 lines of JavaScript code. Not even JavaScript code, just view components. I think that's it. That is it. So much of this presentation was based on a lot of the stuff Matt did on his blog. There'll be a link for that in the slides. Some of the stuff that he has on his blog is old. He actually did a lot of the stuff before 5.3 was finalized. It was pretty close to final, but I did come into a couple of issues that I had to research or go to the documentation, which is now available. Scotch.io also had a pretty good write-up on 5.3, and then of course Laracast. Does anybody know if the Laracast 5.3 series is free?
Yes.
It is? There you go. They're still contributing to it. Matter of fact, a new video was released today. Gotta watch them. I mean, Jeffrey Way is still, the standard when it comes to talking about and teaching Laravel. So watch his 5.3.
Taylor does several.
What's that?
Taylor does several.
I think Taylor does like 2 or 3, including Passport. He does. So that's it. That's my presentation. I know it's been a little long. I appreciate everybody sticking out with me. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Fantastic. I love it when there's no questions. There's plenty of pizza back here. Feel free to eat that, drink the beer, socialize. What's your question? The JSON stuff, the interacting with it. I like JSON, so I had no plans on using the JSON column type in MySQL because there was just no clear path on how to use the JSON column type in MySQL. Now that there is, I may be more inclined to try to use it. So I like that. I like JSON a lot. What else is my favorite? The Scout stuff was pretty slick. You don't do search all the time. Search is usually one of those things that once you get implemented, you kind of don't have to do a lot. But seeing how simple Scout was to implement, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, notifications. I can see a lot of benefit to notifications. It's something I think we've all done. Every application you write nowadays in some form or fashion needs to send out some sort of notification. So I think this is going to make life a lot easier. I think that's it. I mean, you know, it's all new and shiny, but nothing too earth-shattering, and not a whole lot of breaking changes either. The only one I'm aware of is the query builder returning collections, but I heard that there was another breaking change. I don't recall what it was, but I strongly suggest you look at the upgrade guide. I'm sure it's outlined there somewhere.
I don't know, it's not necessarily a big change. Like for us, we're using the classes transition.
I'm sorry, you're saying you were using,
What was the question?
yeah, I'm getting there. I'm sorry, you're saying that you were using DB query, and when you did an upgrade, there was no break to it? How's that possible?
Because the collection object implements the array management methods, so you can treat it as a array for each storm. So if you're doing this for each
So you're saying it's still work? Huh? That's interesting.
But if you're going to access array index 0, that would work.
I see. So you guys are saying that depending on how you're using your results from a DB query, as long as you're doing like iterating over it, it seems to work. But if you're
In fact, if you look at the 5.2 documentation and the 5.3 documentation on how to access the results, it's exactly the same.
the 5.2 documentation, 5.3 documentation on how to access the get results are the same for DB query. Okay, that's good to know. So you have already upgraded to 5.3? Any gotchas that you can share with us? So you didn't have a whole lot of problems when you upgraded, is what you said. It was pretty clean.
Not a lot of problems though. The biggest thing was make sure you really pay attention to what providers have changed.
Make sure you pay attention to service providers. Yeah, and that's another thing you got to take into consideration when you're doing your upgrades is any packages that you've added to your application. You got to make sure that it has now become available in 5.3 as well. It's not as simple as, well, Laravel is upgraded, let me upgrade my application. You very well could have dependencies in there that aren't compatible with 5.3 yet.
I would also say that just because it accepts your routes file the way it is now, don't leave your routes file the way it is now.
Right. So Tom's basically has never really bought into the whole single routes file approach. I know, Tom, you had your own method for breaking route files out. So yeah, moving the routes files into their own individual files is a pretty low-hanging fruit effort. Right, Evan? Low-hanging fruit, you'd call that? Yeah. It's pretty simple to do. It would easily be one of those things you'd want to knock out pretty quick, and it really adds a lot of nice organization to your application.
The other stuff still works, like Bootstrap and all that other.
Yeah, so Bootstrap will still work. Probably the JavaScript libraries you use. So Vue 2.0 was supposed to be released pretty close to the time Laravel 5.3 was released. Vue 2.0 was what he was demoing at Laracon. Again, not a lot of changes to that, but some pretty cool little features in there. But I don't know if that's been released yet or not. Anybody know if Vue 2.0 has been released? No? So we're gonna say no, it hasn't yet, but I imagine it's gonna be released here pretty soon. Any other questions? Yeah.
Just an FYI, speaking of Laracon, the latest one on the what's in the Laravel 5.3 is just published today. It's advanced search for Laravel Scout.
The advanced search with Laravel Scout is the latest video posted, and that's for that 5.3
Yeah, the What's New in 5.3 series on Laracon.
on Laracast. Fantastic. Yes, I like the Scout. That's fun.
It's following it up.
Any other questions? Go ahead. Algolia does have a free. That's actually the tier I'm on. Obviously, it has a lot of limitations. As a matter of fact, I kept getting this. See, I'm on the free plan here. I kept getting this notice saying, "Hey, you're supposed to post a index with Algolia logo on your site. Have you done it?" I'm like, "Well, no, I don't actually have a site, but I promise you, if I ever actually do use it, I will." And if you're watching Algolia, I plan to stand by that. But yeah, there is a free tier for you.
It goes from free to expensive pretty fast.
Yeah. Who would win in foosball, Evan or Eric? I think Evan would probably win because he's a little shorter, so he's got the. I'm kind of tall, kind of dorky. I think Evan would probably win.
Also, as far as Algolia, remember, next month,
Next month.
I'll be doing Elasticsearch, which is also full text search.
Well, let me ask you. So your question is, should you wait for Elasticsearch? Do you like doing system administration? No. Yeah. So with Elasticsearch, you'll be taking on a lot of the sysadmin stuff that these services abstract away from you. If that doesn't scare you, you definitely want to look into it because it's a whole hell of a lot cheaper, like free. And it's super powerful.
Windows, and Mac.
Yeah, and like I said, overwhelmingly there was a cry for a Scout driver for Elasticsearch, and I know Thomas said that. I think before that
Before the announcement was
announcement was completed, somebody had already created a GitHub repo for it. So I think a certain driver will come. What's that? There's a pull request right now for Elasticsearch. There you go. It won't be long. If it's not there, it won't be long. I think Elasticsearch is kind of one of those standards that a lot of people use, mainly because it is free. It plays into a lot of these open source solutions. So yeah, there's going to be a driver for it. I'm pretty confident. Here are your different Algolia plans though. So you see, you go from free to $60 a month.
Yeah, Algolia's business model is to bite you earlier rather than later. So if you buy into what they consider inexpensive when you're small, because that makes more sense.
Any other questions? Okay, awesome. So again, Arnold back here is doing a lot of work on the website for SD Lug. We would totally appreciate some help if anybody's interested. Even if all you are is like a graphics person, you just want to add some graphics or help with any of that. It's not up there yet, but it will be. Yeah.
Regarding the website, I still have as the next talk was the implementation.
You talk to this guy right here. Any complaints about how often the current website is updated
It's in a movie.
is on Tom's shoulder. Because he's like, yeah, Eric, don't worry about it. I'll do the website. That's no problem.
But see, I sounded exactly like that when I said it, which you should have known when I was drunk.
We also have somebody asking for
The slide deck, yeah. We'll tweet that out. We'll post it to the SDPHP and SD Lug website. Yeah, and I'll tweet it out here in now. I'll tweet it out right now. How's that?
And thanks to our remote viewers, we've got almost
15 remote users.
At one point we had 16 people watching, so
Actually,
That was 16 current people watching.
don't you publish? Is that what you do? You publish? Publish to web. Here we go.
We probably have
What? No, I'm sharing the link. I'm sharing the link. All right. That's fine. You can embed all you want. I'm sharing a link. Okay. All right.
I do need an October presenter for STPHP North. I would feel awful forcing Carolyn to present Vue.js again. I have to. I don't have any qualifications. I'm gonna get them all again.
All right. Oh man, I guess I need to. Let's reshare here. Reshare. Retweet there. Again, anybody interested in listening to our podcast, we love to have listeners. It's pretty.
Reviewing means so much to our podcast. Like a ridiculous.
We haven't gotten a bad review yet.
We're hoping we get one soon.
Does a bad review help just as much as a good review?
No, but we haven't gotten a review yet.
Literally, any review would help us. We would assume that
Alright.
any review.
Okay, Tom, William, I posted it on pretty much all the streams now. So
Put it on your site to get resources. Where's your podcast? Oh, there.
No, that's the Laravel podcast. You got to go straight to God. Our Laravel website doesn't have a link to.
So where is it? Where is it? I'll help you with your website.
It's phpugly.com.
yeah, phpugly.com.
Get your cats.
Just go to phpugly.com and it has all the